time saying he can't bear to explain himself to his parents. He says he likes video games and poker. Sex, though? Not so much. With me now, former prosecuting attorney Michael Wilds and defense attorney Ann Bremner, live in Seattle. Thank you both for talking to us about this one today.
Pleasure.
Everybody's been talking about this for the past week. Michael, speaking of talking, you've got Sean, who was held in captivity, talking for the first time on Oprah. And then a couple days later, the guy who's accused of kidnapping talking to the New York Post. What's he trying to do?
From a prosecutor's point of view, Julie, this is a dangerous weekend when you have both victims and defendants speaking to the media. You develop not only stories within stories, but the structural integrity of a case, now that is over 4 years, could be at jeopardy. This is a predator. And a predator, if brought to trial properly, needs to be caught as if they were in a bear trap and made sure that we put them away for life and that he's tracked if he's ever released for any reason so that this never, ever happens again. The legislature in Missouri has to be sensitive and have its ear to the ground to make sure that if there is any holes in the ground or in the law, that they plug them immediately. And the case has to be done such that there is clarity to parents throughout our nation so that they understand very well why it is that this child didn't just drive his bicycle that was stopped 3 or 4 times by the police into a police station and find his parents.
Now, Ann, how's the defense team feeling about the fact that Michael Devlin now has had his chance to, I guess, air his voice in the national media?
It's interesting. Usually it is dangerous and it's a nightmare when the accused talks. But, what he's talking about is all indicating a defense, Julie. I mean, it wasn't sex, that he was like the John Fowles book, The Collector. He was trying to collect friends. And it's almost a mental defense developing here, and he doesn't want his parents to know. I mean, if his parents don't know, they're the last people on earth that don't know about this case, or at least in the United States. So it's showing here that there's something really wrong with this person, and also defense of potentially consent, and that he wasn't committing crimes. He just wanted a friend.
Okay, so if you were defending Michael Devlin, would you be happy or a little bit upset about the fact that he's talking to the New York Post?
I'm always upset when my clients talk, especially I don't want him talking to the Post. But given what he said, I'm not upset about it if I'm going to launch a mental defense, and I would like to have him evaluated. And what is, kidnapping is secreting someone where they can't be found. But his victim was secreted in plain sight. It's a very odd case, and they may have an odd defense and a mental defense.
Okay, but
from this so far.
In Michael's family's defense,
in my mind, and I have all respect for my colleague, there is no legal capacity for a child to give consent, and certainly the family structure of this perpetrator is the least of my concern. The concern that I have is, how does a child for 4 years not pick up a telephone, know a phone number, or reach out? How is it that this young boy, and this, what we might see, is already a recidivist?
Right.
He was caught because he conducted a second kidnapping. Were it not for this second kidnapping, good neighbors, an employer, and wonderful police officers, this man would still be on the prowl.
Okay, but this is what I don't get, and I think, Ann, you agree with Bill O'Reilly that there is more to the story, and every day we're just going to get more of this story. But let me ask you this, and let's stop pointing the finger at this kid, because who knows what it feels like to be held in captivity and fear for your life. But I understand and I read that he was pulled over some 3 or 4 times by police. So if he's on missing posters and police officers couldn't identify this missing kid, then who's to say that the neighbors did anything wrong? Because I know a lot of the neighbors feel a bit guilty.
Well, they do, and they said, we saw him, but we didn't see him, and everything seemed normal. It was like any town USA, and he was the son of Devlin. And the police didn't identify him, and interestingly, he saw himself on television, and a friend said, that looks like you, and he said, well, it's not. So it's a very complicated case, and there's not legal consent, of course, but there's a lot of defenses, I think, that could be developed.
I don't care about defenses as much as I care about protecting children and letting parents know how to educate their children so that they never find themselves in harm's way like this ever again.
All right, Michael Wilds, Ann Bremner, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And the mayor of Englewood, New Jersey, right? Okay. All right, coming up, Hillary Clinton today making her first public appearance since announcing her plans for 2008. When will we see Bill by her side on the campaign trail?